Do I have to add a title, John, or not?
Pardon me?
Uh, no, it's not. It's not necessary, Emil.
Okay, go live anyway.
It says we're on live.
John, are we on live?
It's what it says.
Not yet. No, I'm refreshing the. Okay, there we go. We're live.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Emil van Bouillon, and I'm part of the team here at the Demartini Institute. And we are having Dr. Demartini live in our group today. So let's just give everybody a chance while we are joining. So we're just going to give everybody a second to join the group. So let's get starting so long. So welcome, Dr. Demartini. We have pulled a few questions from the group over the past 2 days. How are you doing today, Dr. Demartini?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here in Los Angeles in a hotel that's kind of subdued today.
Are the hotels much quieter than what you're used to?
Yes, very much so.
Phenomenal. So like I said, Dr. Demartini, we have pulled a few questions from the group over the past few days. Are you ready to go with them?
I'm ready to go.
Beautiful. So the first one we've got is from Wendy Cole, and she said she would like you to explain your medical view on this virus. The value of herd immunity and how to best protect well but elderly parents.
Okay, well, a little bit about the coronavirus. The coronavirus is, they believe, now this is speculation, they believe it originated in the bats. And because the bats have somewhere between 100 to 200 various types of coronaviruses in them, they believe the bat somehow through its guano or its sneeze or something gave the virus onto another little mammal. And this particular one, called a pangolin, is a kind of an anteater armadillo-looking thing. And this one is believed to possibly have spread it onto humans. This is the theory anyway. The virus is called the coronavirus because on the outside of the capsule of this virus are little protein receptor-like devices that kind of creates a radiation look like a corona of a saint. And the reason of that is that's the term, the coronavirus, because of that. It does have a strong virility for people that have weak immune systems. It's not affecting the young, as you know, so much. It's mainly getting the elderly. It's getting people that have weakened immune systems or lung systems. It's mainly a respiratory issue, more so than a digestive issue. In bats, it's a digestive issue. But in other animals, it's a digestive issue. But it's a respiratory. Therefore, they believe it was passed by respiratory spray, sneeze, or some sort of cough. Now, what we can do to reduce the probability of having that is obviously the same things we would do to help our immune system at any time. Obviously, distancing yourself, usually 4 or 5 feet from people, decreases the probability of exchange. That's why they've cut out in America down to no longer having any gatherings of people to try to distance and isolate people. That stops the spread. But what is also essential is that if you're obviously getting rest, your immune system rallies. If you're automatically getting proper nutrition and adequate food, that's ideal, which is now challenging when they have lockdown everywhere. But if you can get the best food you can, that's to your advantage. Breathing rhythmically, kind of like a old pranayama breathing mechanism in a non-infected area, helps the autonomic nervous system become regulated and balanced. And it helps the immune system become more poised. Anytime we perceive an expectation that's not being met and activate the sympathetic nervous system and get angry, or anytime we perceive that we can't get what we want and we get angry, our sympathetic nervous system shuts down the immune system, and the natural killer cells and some of the white blood cells that are involved in reacting to these viruses are hindered and lessened. So anything we can do to remain actually calm, believe it or not, is the thing to do. If we get into panic, we become the target. We become the vulnerable one. They suspected almost everybody by the time the end of the year will be around that most people will be exposed to this virus, and it will probably become one of the classical flus that periodically occur. There's been coronaviruses before. This is not the first. SARS is a coronavirus. There's many of them. MERS was a coronavirus. And so the reality is that anything that is normal to the immune system is to be an advantage. So I would do whatever you're stressed about. Obviously, this meeting is for that. Whatever you're stressed about, you're only stressed because you're having some sort of unrealistic expectation. You're expecting somehow to be the way it used to be now when it's not, and that you'll be angry at that. Well, that's wiser to find out how what's happening right now, reality, instead of comparing it to the past or a fantasy about what's be in the future. Better to go, okay, this is what's reality. This is what I have available to me. This is what's priority in this moment, and stick to priority, which gives you the highest governance from the executive center and the highest autonomic balance, and allows the immune system to rally and do its job. And if it does its job, even if you were to be infected with it, you'd probably have mild, if anything, symptoms. There's some people that are getting hardly any symptoms at all. It's the people that are panicking and getting freaked out and then getting angry and getting hurt, that if they get it, they're running the immune system down, and they have the anxiety thinking they're going to die. If you put all those factors on top of it, we'll escalate the entire immune deficiency, and will go against us. So the wisest thing to do is start making a list of how you can use this to your advantage, how you can find opportunities out of it, how you can use your time more effectively. I'm doing a lot more writing. I've been doing interviews. I did 7 interviews yesterday. I'm doing as many interviews as I can, and things I can do, and writing them, getting a chance to work on 2 new books. So I'm just using my time in the best possible way that is allotted. Like, I'm not going to be able to do much with it. If I try to do a seminar, they have a limit on 10 people right now, so we had to go online. And that's great. The benefits are we're innovating and creating new online formats.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're benefiting in this. Pardon me?
No, absolutely. I agree with you. That's right.
Yeah, we're also uniting as a community. I mean, here we have 2,000 people sitting on a community right this minute, early in the morning. We're also getting to find out what's really priority in our life, who is really priority in our life, and what exactly is most important in our life. And it's shedding things that are maybe what we thought were essential, may not be as essential. So in the long run, also it's forcing us to do what I've been trying to say for, 30-something years now, to make sure you have a cash reserve set aside for a minimum of 3 to 6 months. People that do that are not so anxious because they know they've got cash reserves. And if you got cash, you got cash for the crash. Right now, we've got the best buying time that I've seen, and since I've been in the investment world, this is one of the best ones since 1987, at least. This has been the best buying time. And so, for people that have the cash, they buy, and then they make up whatever they think they're going to lose during this down period. But the down period is actually a time for productive thinking and other alternatives. Like I said, you just ask yourself, what is the highest priority thing I can do today, right now, towards my objective in the circumstances that I'm faced with? How do I use it to my advantage? Is it making sure that I get in contact with my customers? Is it making sure that I'm communicating? Is it making sure that I come up with better packages that are meeting the needs of today? It's making you, resiliently innovate and adapt and create. And so you sit down and make a list of all the benefits that are coming out of it, the unification, the understanding, the education that's coming out of it, the expansion, the automatic elevation of technological understanding, the communion with family, the closeness, whatever number of deaths there'll be, I guarantee you there'll be more, if that, of new babies born 9 months from now. So we're going to see a surge of babies 9 months from now because everybody's going to stay home and they're going to make love some more. So there's going to be not a loss, there's going to be a transformation. And so the individuals that have the cash reserves are people that I've tried to tell people that all along, but not everybody listens. They want immediate gratification instead of thinking long-term and thinking cash reserves to stabilize their business. But my advice is to prioritize your day as best you can. That helps the immune system. And obviously there's other things you can do. Meditation will help your immune system by being centered, not as an escape, but as centering, and doing the Demartini method. Unquestionably, anytime you can take whatever's happening and whatever you perceive happening and link it to your highest values, and anytime you can ask, where's the upside to the downside, you center yourself, you find meaning in it. Extracting meaning is what Viktor Frankl did to survive the concentration camps. While everybody else is dying and freaking out and being anxious, he just kept looking for meaning in how this is serving him. And he's the one that survived. And this is exactly what will happen today. And our immune systems are going to be stronger after we go through this. And so it's a temporary thing. It's probably 30 days, 60 days, maybe 90 days, who knows? But I think by then if they do what they did in China, it's already cycled and it's already starting to trough and it's now going back up again. So it's very probable by June we'll probably be in a different position. So I think that's the reality of it. So when we stop and think about it, it's a temporary hit for 2 months. A lot of business will have some crazy stuff on there. They'll downsize, new entrepreneurs will be born, new jobs and niches will be formed, new online business will occur. Amazon is booming right now. They just hired 100,000 people because online is so booming. And there's some jobs right now that are just absolutely skyrocketing because of the needs. So not everybody is in doomsday. I always say that it's wise to find out how whatever's happening is on the way, not in the way.
And Dr. Demartini, how do we get back to the highest priority? What is the few tips that you can give to get back to the highest priority that we can focus on that?
Well, just ask what that is. I don't know what that is for each person. Each individual have a different need at that moment. It may be communicating with the team. It may be communicating with clients. It may be, some people may still want to do business and service at this point, and maybe there's a deferred payments and maybe an interest added to cover the cost. There may be alternative ways of doing business, getting payments from it, but it's about meeting the needs now as these things occur. There's new needs. This morning I went down to have breakfast and they didn't have what I wanted for breakfast. So I went, okay, we got to go to plan B. I didn't want hog jows and possum gizzards and things like that they probably offered. And I basically figured out a way of finding out what I wanted. I got creative and made a new friend down there and met a guy that was a surfing guy. So we chatted for a while I waited for my food. So you have to ask yourself right now in this situation, what is the highest priority thing you can think you can do that's going to be greatest for your business and greatest for your own personal mission? And if those are dovetailed, you'll get the same action. That's all a human being can do is stick to priorities in these situations. Their executive center is more online. There's less likely to be volatile and emotional. They're less likely to be irrational and exaggerate and minimize things. They're more likely to keep their immune system rallied. It's to their advantage to just keep asking, what is the highest priority thing I can do right now? And then when that's done, now what's the next highest priority thing I can be doing with my time? And as long as you're doing that, and you may actually just take time to relax. If you have some time to relax, if there's nothing you can do, sometimes the best thing to do is just relax and read a good book or advance yourself for the future development of your business or your career path and use the time. Imagine that you put yourself on a vacation for a month or two. And by the way, if you have to pay people and you have to pay your landlord or whatever, call them. Don't let them hanging. Just say, look, I don't have an income coming in. I know it's not fair to you, but we're going to have to work out with what we've got and work out arrangements. Don't hide from people. Just work out arrangements. Everybody's going to be in the same boat. They're all going to understand. If they start bitching or whatever, then just say, look, bitching is not going to help. The reality is that I don't have an income right now. And I didn't plan and didn't set up a reserve for these kind of things. So I will pay you out and I will pay you a little extra each month. Once I get back on my feet, we'll get this all paid up. Just work with people. People will be reasonable if you talk to them. They won't be reasonable if you ignore them. And so just work on that. I don't think the banks are going to foreclose anybody or they're going to stop you if you don't pay your mortgage temporarily. pay what you can and just try to work out and communicate and just look at what you can do. You may find yourself cutting your cost down way down and find yourself that you can get by on a lot less and you thought you couldn't. Your luxuries became necessities after a while.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And then the next one I've got from Lance Kinneard. He asked, what is your view on how bad is it in reality versus what the media is saying?
Well, I don't know. I don't pay much attention to the media because the media usually distorts the hell out of things. So they're interested in selling media and sensating things to extremes. You'll find bits and pieces of truth in there, but then you also get a little sensationalism. I don't know what he's referring to. I don't know if he's talking about the numbers. My sense is the numbers are greater than what they are saying because a lot of people are trying to get through and contact people and there's no way of getting. If you try to contact the disease control center, you just get an answer machine. There's no way of reaching them. So people are sick and they can't get there. So they're not on the stats. So the probability of there's a lot more people that are infected than realized and a lot smaller percentage of people that are actually dying from it. That's probably real. And there's a lot of people that are infected without knowing it. And I'm sure that that's just going to continue to spread. That's not going to stop. So it eventually gets out. You can't stop a virus from spreading. It just, as long as it has a host somewhere, it's going to spread. It's not going to die. It'll sit dormant until it has a host again. So it's not going to go away, but we're going to adapt to it and our immune systems will be fine to it. And that's just what it is. So I think the media is probably sensating a bit, but I do believe that we do have a pandemic. And I don't know if it's, I think we've only got 180 people in America that have died or some small number. To shut down a whole country seems a little ludicrous, but at the same time, they know the pandemic of the 1918, millions of people were killed. And just in case it was to go that route, they wanted to stop it. So that's why they shut the economy down. They're trying to prevent something like the 1918, 1919 flu season, October to February, March of that year. Millions, and I mean millions of people fell, and that's what they don't want to have happen. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah, and Dr. Demartini,
personally, I think that I would target and quarantine the people that are most vulnerable. Since children don't seem to be vulnerable, I think quarantining the children, they're being used as a carrier. That's all. That's why they're quarantining them. But I think that if they get sick, they survive and don't notice it. But that's to be seen.
Yes. And then Dr. Demartini, for the people that did not prepare financially for this, whole situation that's happening, and where do you see the financial markets going, and what tips can you give to people to deal with the anxiety that they're going to go through, or what they're already going through?
Well, if they don't sell whatever they have in the market, they're fine. The market will bounce back. We'll probably have the biggest market gain in the next 3 months again. But it's buying time. The mean was 23, and the Dow, for instance, in America, the mean was around 23 something, and it's now 20, and probably going to bounce. It's going to probably drop again tonight. It's a good buying position. So anybody that's got cash can compensate for the so-called losses by buying in, and with low interest rates on loans, wow, there's buying opportunities. Like, man, this is one of the best buying opportunities that I've seen in all the years. Better than even 2008 that I grabbed a great market that time. So yeah, this is a great opportunity for people that have access to cash to buy into the market. Now, it may go back down to 17 in the Dow, it may drop a little bit more, but overall, when it does come back, the people that are buying now or anything lower than now are definitely going to be doing great. Even in the 20s, early 20s, 22, 23 in the Dow, or their equivalents in the S&P, these people are going to make money, and they'll make up whatever they've lost now will be made up. That's why I always tell people, carry a reserve. The wealthiest people always have a cash reserve at least 6 months. At least 40% of their gross income per year is sitting in cash reserve, and this is for those moments. I'm telling people to do that, but people think that they need to spend it all and not have a reserve because they're not making money on it all the time, but they make money on big crashes. It happens every decade on average. This one's about 11 years, but it's about 10 and a half years. So it happens every decade. People that are patient.
What if they didn't prepare for that? What if they didn't prepare for the crash that happened?
Well, I've already said that. They go to the people that they owe money to or that they have to pay and work with them and talk to them and say, look, when I have income coming in, I'll pay it out. But that's just, you can't get blood out of a turnip. If it's not there, it's not there. face the reality of it. And, if you have to do things like eat very simply and make some rice and beans or whatever, and as a cooking process temporarily because you don't have the income and your electricity is all of a sudden they threaten your electricity, talk to them and say, look, I fully intend to do it. Everybody's in this boat together. People are going to be understandable this time. It's not like you just are screwing up. Everybody's in this boat. So people are going to be understanding. And I think that's just keep communicating. That's the wisest thing to do. And if you have clients, contact them, find out what their needs are. Maybe there's something you can do that they will value. And maybe they don't have the money right this minute, but maybe they'll get you the money and you can still be doing some business and they'll pay you when they can. And you take a bit of a risk with them. But you gotta be, it's about serving people and finding new niches of where you can serve people and do the best you can with that. I don't think there's any magic bullet in this. I mean, you can go and try to learn how to do trades on the market and deal with the fluctuations of the market right now. And people that are doing that can gamble in the market, but you could also gain or lose. But I think the reality is that there's a new niche with every change that goes on in the world. There's a new niche that somebody needs help in. And whatever that new niche is, I mean, right now there's things that people need and they can't get it. So anybody that can go out of their way to find a way of getting people what they need, then there's a value and there's a money to be made in there because whatever money they got, they'll buy it. If they have the money, they'll buy it. So I would go and look at what you could do within your scope of knowledge in case there's a way of serving other people's needs, and do what you can to keep your mind focused on serving people. That's going to generate income. And then when the tides turn, you'll have that income boosted, and then you'll end up compensating for this temporary dip.
And then Dr. Demartini, you've got great techniques and tips in terms of how to deal with the fear that are people facing, going forward. They're going a lot into the future of what is possibly going to happen and so on. What tips could you help to give people on that?
Well, the fear of the unknown is non-existent. You only have fear of the content that's in your mind. So stop, close your eyes, and ask, what am I actually thinking about in my mind? Write it down so you have a real clear idea of what your fear is. Because a fear is an assumption that you're about to have more drawbacks and benefits, more negatives than positives in the near or far future through your senses or imagination. Once you define what it is, which is definable in every case, even though people say, I don't know what it is, I'm just frightened, I'm having an anxiety attack. No, you don't. Stop the bullshit, get real, identify what your fear is, then look at that fear and write down, okay, if that was to occur, how do I use it to my advantage? How is it on the way? How does it help me fulfill high values the way it is? Every weekend in the breakthrough experience, as you know, I have people that have things that they resent in their life, and people that they resent because of some actions, and they swear there's no benefit in it. And then we go through there, we help them go and dig and dig and dig and find out the benefits until they're grateful for it. Well, fears are no different. No matter what the fear is, there's always an upside to it. It's just like the guy that lost $750 million when his partner took off with it, went off to a country that had no extradition in the United States, and he lost $750 million. He found benefits. In 48 minutes, we found all the benefits, and he was grateful for that and started a new business. So it's the worst case scenario is you have a temporary setback, you rebuild it, you'll see it as a tiny blip in the future. The surge of benefits that will come back in the future from the creativity and innovation and more efficient and lower costs that you have now will pay off, and it'll be a temporary thing. So I would basically go in there and look at the benefits, because once you see the benefits equaling the drawbacks, there's no fear. And then you also want to go, what is the fantasy that you're holding on to? Because you can't have a phobia, a fear, without a fantasy, a philia. And the philia is the fantasy of how you think it should have been, was supposed to have been, the way you hoped it would have been. And as long as you have no drawbacks to that, you're going to have a hard time finding the benefits to its opposite. So go and find out what's the benefit of the worst case scenario and what's the drawback of the way you hope it would be. Because if you can find the drawbacks of that and crack the fantasy, you won't be comparing things to a fantasy, which is what leads to depression. And if you do, then you'll find yourself, you just got to be accountable. I guarantee if I sat down with anybody who's on this call right now, and we sat down and we did that on the spot, we could take any one of their fears, we could neutralize it. And it wouldn't take that long, 30 minutes max, hour, absolute max. That unless somebody's just holding on and wanting to run their story and run their racket and be a victim of their own delusion. So you got to go in and find out how it serves, what the worst case scenario serves, and the best case scenario of how you fantasize it should be that you're comparing it to, which is why you're angry and frightened, what would be the drawback if that was to continue? Because you'll find out that there's new innovations, there's new things, there's new connections, there's new relationships, there's all kind of benefits that are occurring right now in your life, and your new prioritizations and new streamlinings and new efficiencies and cutting off the fat, as they say in the business, and trimming it down into priority. And that's to our advantage in the long run.
And Dr. Dean, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in our group, that they've got, staff that they're dealing with, and what they're going through. That what can you say is to able to deal with that? I know you mentioned
in America they've just made it mandatory that 25% are let go right now, and 50% there in some companies have to be let go. So that's mandatory. That's not an option, and they have to go home, and they're not allowed to work because there's too many people in buildings and things. So what's happened is people are going home, and when they go home, they can't be paid. They're going to go home and they're not going to work. If they don't produce, they don't receive income. That's just the way it works. And so you have to realize that. And a company, you can't expect people to think, well, the company's supposed to rescue me. Each individual has to produce to have a company produce an income. Some companies may have enough reserve to just go through a couple months, and there's creative things they can do in the company at home and do work at home. Others have to temporarily say there's a short reprieve. You'll have to go home, and I won't be able to put you to work for a period of time, and just face the reality of that. That'll force you to go, okay, do I want to become an entrepreneur so I'm not trapped in that again? Do I want to become more invincible and valuable so I'm the highest priority person in the company? They do whatever, they would always want me there. It forces you to be accountable and produce. So the reality is some people are going to be let go. It's already happening. Some people will actually be on temporary reprieve and be hired back in 60 days or 30 days. Some people will actually have some partial pay and they'll temporarily ride it out. It's all negotiable with the individual that you're working in, and you as a company. If you think that you can't replace those, and those people may not be there 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now, then you may want to pay them partly, whatever you can, and just take that as part of the cost of the business. Otherwise, you may just tell them the truth. Right now, there's no business, there's no job. I see that all over the world. There's nothing bad about it. It's not a moral issue. It's just a fact of life. You get paid according to your productivity. That doesn't sound romantic. It doesn't sound, compassionate, but life's not compassionate all the time. And you can't afford to be compassionate if you're sitting there, you're eroding faster than you can handle. You have to basically get real with it and disperse everything out. So everybody's taking a part of this thing. The reality is that you can't have some rescuer. If the people think the government's supposed to rescue them, well, the government's got to come from the taxes of the people. They just gave $1 trillion relief or whatever and give everybody $1,000, which isn't going to do much, but somebody's got to pay that back. So it's just a temporary fix from Big Daddy to people. The reality is that you get creative and think, okay, what's a new job I could create? Or I'm temporarily going to have to set that up, and it's going to teach me to save my money and keep a reserve, like is wise, which I've told people everywhere around the world to do. If you had a reserve of 3 to 6 months, you wouldn't be anxious. You just go, okay, I'll be sitting at home and I'll get other creative things done. And I'll wait until the time goes, and I'd be grateful that I had a reserve waiting for me. So that's the best thing to do. It'll force people to be wise with money, wise with their time, make themselves very productive and irreplaceable in the business as best as possible, and make sure that they understand that reality as a business is an organization to try to produce a service, products for people, and get a fair exchange. If there's no productivity, there's no money, there's no exchange, temporarily there's layoffs. Every company around the world has done that for centuries. It's life. So we have to face the truth about life.
Thanks for that, Dr. Demartini. And then the next question is how important it is to have a vision during these, these difficult times or these challenging times for people.
Well, the focus of the vision is allowing you to link whatever's happening to it. I guarantee if we sat down with anybody in this room and in this chat, if we sat down and we go, okay, so what is the vision that you had? If you lose your vision, well, you don't have any place to link to. But if you get clear about your vision and ask, how is this temporarily going to help me? And you answer that question instead of bitch, instead of moan, instead of getting on the phone and talking about how dangerous and how the world's falling apart. That's not the answer. How is this helping me get to that dream? If you do that, you'll find out solutions and you'll actually get innovative and you'll use your time more effectively. There's no crisis without blessings. And the individual that takes the time to look is a person that's more poised and more present. The person that doesn't, wants to run their story and be a victim of their outer circumstances, will be trapped. And they'll run down their immune system. The very thing they fear comes near them.
And how do we help them to get clear on the vision, Dr. Demartini?
Well, the vision's going to automatically surface in their highest value. So the wisest thing, I'm like a broken record, and it's not going to change. You could ask me 10 years from now the same question. This answer is going to be the same. Ask yourself, what's the highest priority thing you can do today that help you fulfill what's most meaningful to you and your highest values? Go online, do the value determination, look at what your values are, and ask, what is the highest priority thing? Because the moment you're in high priorities, your executive center function comes online, and you're the most creative, you're the most visionary, you have the most solution orientation, the most creative strategic planning orientation, the most ability to execute, and the least amount of volatilities and emotions. It's just a fact of the brain. The data is there. I'm absolutely certain about it. There's no question in my mind. That's the wisest thing every human being right now who's facing this can be doing. If they sit there and talk, they go watch the movies and the media, and they get worried and they get frightened and they get this, and that's just going to make it more challenging for them. Being informed is one thing with the facts, but getting emotional and dramatized is just putting you in the amygdala, losing your vision, exaggerating what's happening, and polarizing it further, and then causing chain reactions in other people. And you got a distracted society, blaming people and blaming things. Then all of a sudden, conspiracy theories come out that are ridiculous conspiracy theories. I've seen this recently already surfaced from people that are uninspired by what they're doing and can't see the benefits to it.
Yeah, we definitely had a few of those people asking about the conspiracy theories. Dr.
Yeah, but I did. I had a client that was trying to find a man, and no matter what she did, her standards on the man were pretty high. And I told her, well, let me find a solution. So I basically created the virus to be able to get rid of all the lower quality fruit. And so there's a conspiracy theory that I caused it by to try to help one of my clients get a man. I'm joking.
Dr. Demartini, is there any, why we created this group is to help people to find their vision, to able to, get through these. So we have got a community together to help them to get through this challenging times. Have you got any other last words of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, right this minute when you get off this chat, get a piece of paper out or get on your computer or cell phone or whatever you want to type and write on, and get your values clear, get clear about what your mission and vision is, because this is a temporary glitch. This is not a permanent glitch. And then get on with it. What is the highest priority thing you can do today? And if it's resting and meditating, do that. If it's contacting your clients, do that. If it's talking to people that you owe money to, that you're going to be having to pay bills to, do that. Whatever it is, the highest priority thing you can be doing is the most any human being has access to do. That's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what everybody, Emil, you're doing it. We're all doing that right now. And if we do that, we make progress. And we lessen the brunt of the crazies that are the circus that's going on outside, and we use it to our advantage. We can see this. We can see the circus as we're actually getting to play in a circus right now. We're in the ring, the central ring, and we now get to play. But the highest priority thing is still the answer. I don't have how else to say it. That's the most important thing. And link whatever's happening to that highest value. Those two things right now, if people will do it, not talk about it, not just, oh, I don't want to do that right now, I'm too busy. Just do it. Watch what happens. A creative idea will emerge. You'll get your vision back. You'll get some great solutions on how to do it. And you'll stop focusing on all the downsides, because if you're focusing on fear, you're not seeing a balanced orientation. And that's a sign you're not in your executive center. It's a sign you're not even looking for the benefits. You're focusing, dwelling, and dramatizing the drawbacks. And that's anxiety and fear. And that's going to lead to depression, because you're comparing your life to a fantasy. Prioritize things right now. Find out what's priority and link what you're doing to highest values. Just do that right now when you get off this line, and don't stop until you get a tear of gratitude for what's happening. And you will lessen the brunt. And if you have to do that again tomorrow morning, do it tomorrow, because there may be new things occurring in your environment. And until this trough is hit, do that every day. And you will find out that on the other side of that trough, those will pay off, and the temporary setback will be a step forward.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Demartini, and thanks for you being here. It's really been a huge help, and we look forward to having you again in the group. To see how we are developing over the next few weeks. It would be great to have you back here again. And I just want to say thank you for everybody for joining. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, if you do know of anybody else who would love to, benefit from these insights, please share this group with them. We really want to, get as many people involved in this group, and this group is for you, to help you to get clear on your vision and to get clear on your mission, and to see how this, this thing that we're going through, how it's on the way and not in the way. So we look forward to walking this journey with you. And Dr. Demartini, do you have any last remarks for us?
Yeah, don't lose your vision. Those that do perish, those that keep their vision flourish, is the old proverb. It's in Proverbs of the Old Testament, and it's still solid. So if you think you've lost your vision, it's because you're comparing your current reality to a fantasy of what it was. Get clear about it. Do what I've asked, and go serve. If you're focused on trying to be of service to people the best you can, even if it's futuristic creations for the future business when it returns, then be doing that. Get creative. Anyway, just know that we're all going through the same thing at the same time, and there's no reason why we can't get through this thing together. And I think I'll be back on next week. So midweek, once I get back into the next city, we'll have another chat and get an update and find out how people are doing.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Demartini. We look forward to having you again soon, and have a super inspiring day, and go and do what you love.
Okay. And go hug. Make sure you're hugging and hug people. They say not to do anything but elbows, but if you know they're not infected, give them a hug. They might need a hug today.
Thanks for that, Dr. Demartini. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.